What's up, guys? LQ here to talk about the new Disney Plus movie, Dashing Through the Snow. Now, I'm a big fan of Christmas movies, so of course I was going to check this one out. And let's get the big thing out of the way first. All right. A lot of people online are very angry about Black Santa. All right. Let me say this. I have always been a person who believes that in some scenarios, race swapping is fine. In other scenarios, race swapping is not fine. It's not fine when there are cultural ties to a character. When a character is the character's culture, and just to follow down that path, the character's race is a big part of who that character is. You know, you start thinking about T'Challa. Can't race bend T'Challa. You know, you start thinking about, and one of the things that have drawn people's anger lately has been the Snow White, the Rachel Zegler Snow White, right? I'm of the opinion that you shouldn't race bend that character. That character comes from a certain heritage where she was a white character. I mean, it even says skin is white as snow, right? So there are areas where it's appropriate and areas where it's not appropriate. And I look at a character like Santa and I say, who cares? Who cares if this is a character that gets race bent? In fact, I just always assumed that different cultures had different versions of Santa. In fact, my assumption is true. There have always been different interpretations of Santa. I remember growing up in the 80s. A long time ago. I remember growing up, and you know what? Every now and then you'd be out at the store and you'd see, you know, pictures of white Santa, and you would sometimes see pictures of Black Santa as well. I never found it to be offensive. It never made me angry. It still doesn't. You know, and I always assumed, you know, I have a daughter who is young enough. She believes in Santa. And, you know, in our house, Santa is a old white man. I just always kind of assumed that in Black houses, Santa would be a Black man. And in Asian houses, Santa's gonna be an Asian man. In any house that celebrates Christmas, that culture is gonna mold Santa to represent their culture. And maybe I'm wrong about that, but I always kind of had that assumption. Santa is a very malleable character. You know, you can do a lot with him. And over the years, there's been all these different interpretations of Santa. And if you have, I look back to like Silent Night, Deadly Night, or Santa's sleigh. If we're okay with Santa butchering people, we should be okay with this, right? Like, I don't understand the anger toward something like that. So, I'm perfectly fine with Santa being whatever color they want it to be. Sure. And it's when I read people online angry about it. Santa's gone woke. Disney's woke. Well, yeah, Disney's probably a little woke. Yeah, you're right about that. But who cares if they make a movie with a Black Santa? So, yeah. When I say what I say here about this movie, it has nothing to do with that. Because I could care less. But the movie's not very good. The movie's not very good. I wanted to lead with that before anybody accuses me of not liking it because of Black Santa. There's good things in it. There's good things in it. So Ludacris plays the main guy who, he's a social worker. He's a very kind person, but he's lost his faith in Christmas. And at the beginning of the movie, he does something that really endeared me to him. There's this man who was depressed, climbs this, I think it was a tall fake Christmas tree. It might have just been a green tower. I don't remember. But he's clearly going up there to self-harm. And Ludacris's character, who, like I said, is a social worker, he climbs a tower and talks the guy down. And this was all very endearing. The conversation that he had with him, it really made me like the character. And honestly, the way that Ludacris sold it, I was like, this is decent. I'm actually enjoying this. This is endearing me to the character. It's making me like the character. It's wanting to make me see more of this character in this movie. He's separated from his wife, wants to be a good dad to his kid, but is very married to his work and is very, does not celebrate Christmas. And obviously this movie takes place at Christmas time. Well, there's a corrupt politician played by Oscar Nunez from The Office who wants something from him. And on Christmas Eve, he sends the politician, Oscar Nunez, sends his minions out to get it. And also during that night, Ludacris's character comes across a guy who thinks he's Santa Claus. Ludacris, Santa, Ludacris's daughter, they go out on this adventure, get away from the bad guys to... Ludacris thinks he's helping Santa by taking him to a place that's going to help him because he thinks he's delusional. But Santa also has his own agenda at play. So the setup was fine. I honestly, I could have done without the bad guy subplot. I just wasn't really feeling it. I was more interested in the adventure aspect and the redeeming Christmas for Ludacris aspect of it. But I got a little bored during the movie. Like I said, the setup was fine, but I got a little bored. It just kind of meandered along. The world building wasn't great. I had very little, every time they make these Santa Claus movies, they always try to world build, but they always try to do something a little different. And in this case, they did something a little different that didn't really resonate. It didn't feel Santa-y, if that makes sense. It felt almost too modern, almost too business-like. I don't know. It didn't work for me. The world building didn't work. And I think because the world building didn't work and they spent so much time establishing this world that Santa operates in, that I got bored. I got disinterested in it. And by the end, I was just kind of ready for it to be over. It does have a sweet ending that I really enjoyed. But it's that middle part. Nice setup, sweet ending, middle part, just, like I said, it kind of meandered along and just kind of bored me. So, unfortunately, I can't give this movie a really strong recommendation. Little kids might enjoy it. I don't think there's much here to be had for adults, though, which is too bad. But yeah, so if you have little kids, might want to sit down, check it out. If not, I'd say this one's probably a pass. It didn't do much for me. And I love Christmas movies, and it didn't do much for me. So that's my take on Dashing Through the Snow. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments below. Thanks, guys.